What do you call a kid with no arms, no legs, and an eye patch? Names. Hello and welcome back to SparkleDart. How are you doing today? I am doing fantastic. I know you weren't going to ask me, but I was going to tell you anyways because I think this should be a give and take relationship between the two of us. You know, I give you so much and I ask for so little in return, but I'd like something in return. Now, if you're not going to give me nothing in return, I would just appreciate that maybe you think about me once in a while, just say, you know, I really like that SparkleDart guy. He seems like a genuine guy. He seems like a nice boy who has a lot of important things to do and doesn't just sit around fucking around on his computer all day playing video games like some sort of fucking nerd. Even though that might be a little disingenuous for me to ask you to do that, because obviously that is the case. That is true, and that's not like something I'm trying to... It's not like I'm embarrassed about it, but it's not something that I guess I'm super stoked to share with the whole world. You know, you and your mom probably talking about how big of an idiot I look like sometimes for whatever reason. You talk about me to your mother and she's just like, I don't know who you're talking about, and I think you should shut up because it's not nice to be rude to somebody that you've never met before unless they deserve it for whatever reason. And you know, sometimes people think that oh boy, some people think that some people that they've never met before do deserve it. Like when you watch videos of people, I was watching Dateline NBC. I'm sure you've heard of it. They used to have an expose with Chris Hansen. He was always going on there talking to pedophiles and like capturing them, tackling them to the ground and beating them up with his own two hands. He would go in there by himself and just beat up these pedophiles. And he wouldn't even talk. Like they would walk through the door like with a plate of cookies or whatever, and the pedophile would be like, yeah, I want that. I'm here to meet somebody, but you said that there were also going to be like cookies and stuff. I would really like to have those cookies. If you're going to give those cookies to me soon, before you arrest me, that would be great. But then he just looks at them, he points at them with his finger and goes, ah! And then he runs after them and starts punching the shit out of their face. It's a really weird show, and I'm surprised that it's legal for them to like do that. I mean, it could be like maybe they're in a house and it's like someone's dad or something that's just walking through the door and he's like, hey, Ellie, I'm back home from a long day at work, and then he doesn't even know that that's his dad. Like they weren't expecting him to come home at that time. They were just filming in his they just knew that a 14-year-old girl lived in the house, so they snuck in and then waited for the first adult man that they saw to walk in the door and just started punching the shit out of him. And the 14-year-old daughter wasn't even there, nothing. And then she like hears about this the next day, and then everybody's like, so I saw your dad was on Dateline NBC To Catch a Predator. He got beaten the shit out of him by Chris Hansen. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's like, look, it's all over the news. Chris Hansen beats the shit out of a rapist. And and it's a picture of your dad. And she's like, my dad would never do nothing like that. He's a good boy. He actually divorced my mother because he realized he was gay, and he isn't remarried and nothing like that because he knew growing up as a little kid that would be weird for me if because he divorced my mom when I was like 6. He divorced my mom when I was 6, and if he had gotten rid of her and like married another man, I wouldn't have been able to understand that as a little child. And I think that's probably why where this misunderstanding came from. I think that's where this whole big thing, some wires got crossed. Maybe it wasn't exactly apparent what his intentions were. No, he was just coming home from work, so I don't understand why they had to like tackle him to the ground, beat him up, and then put him in jail, and then give him a lethal injection. Well, they haven't done that yet, but they've already said they're going to, and once you sentence somebody to death, you can't take it back. You just have to like let them sit on death row for like 15 years until their time finally comes, until their maker calls them again. Until their maker's mark calls them again. Oh, you bonehead. Get it? It's a skeleton. Get it? It's a joke. Gosh dang. Okay. Give me what I desire. I don't know. He beats up the pedophiles, and that's enough for me. I think that's an important job. Somebody has to do it, and if it had to be anybody, it's got to be Chris Hansen. Here's a fun fact. I used to go out to my local mall with my buddies on Black Friday, and that's the day after Thanksgiving. That's not the day where it's okay to just like assault African Americans in public and then you don't get like in trouble for it. It's not that day. That day is I think June 14th. That's coming up actually. Anyway, it's the day after Thanksgiving, and we used to go out to the mall because there was always like a big thing. I think they called it Black Friday Rockin' Eve or something stupid like that. I don't know. It was a long time ago, and it's been a while since I've been out there. So we got interviewed by a newspaper, our local newspaper, the Register, and they asked us what our names were, and I told them that my name was Chris Hansen. And then me and all my friends were like giggling to ourselves like a bunch of fucking losers, because we were a bunch of fucking losers, making up fake names, giving them to the newspaper. And then they printed those names. Well, I don't know if it was ever actually in the newspaper, rather, but it was more along the lines of the fact that it was on the website, right? They have a website, the Register's website, and it said Chris Hansen with a picture of me on there, and I thought it was really funny. But then I realized it wasn't really as funny as I thought it was, and I felt bad about how dumb I was lying to the newspaper. And they're like, we invested a lot of trust in you. We thought you were a better person, frankly. We thought you were going to be a more genuine person. We didn't realize that you were going to lie to us for no reason, because whatever you thought it was funny, lying to somebody who just, it's in their best interest to not be betrayed, because if somebody that looks on our website and sees your picture on there, they're going to think to themselves, well, that guy's name isn't Chris Hansen. That guy's name is my real name, which I'm not going to tell you because you're not allowed to know, because it's too funny of a name. People make fun of my name all the time. It's like if somebody's name was Benjamin and his last name was Dova, and then everybody would call him Ben Dova, and it's like a joke, but it's not a new joke for him. He hears that almost every day, and his parents really should have had the foresight not to name him Ben Dova. That was kind of a mistake on their part, but they really like the name Ben because that was his grandfather's name, or that was his mom's grandfather's name, and she married his dad, and his dad's last name was Dova. So now they have to have this whole big spat between the mom and the dad, and they're like, well, you really shouldn't have named our son Ben. We could have called him anything else. We could have called him Kyle or Steven, because we have relatives with those names that have since passed away, and I think it would make more sense for us to name him something that he couldn't get ridiculed for in school. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. That's if you don't see the problem here, I guess that's kind of your fault, and I'm not gonna call you out or nothing. I don't think it's right of me to call you out for naming our son something so ridiculous. But just keep in mind that if we have another child, we're not going to call them Hugh Jass or Michael J. Hunt. We're not going to call them nothing like that, even though you're probably laughing to yourself thinking, well, that would be a hilarious thing to call a child, because they can't do anything about their names. They just have to accept the fact that their names are stupid and, live with that their whole lives. And sometimes kids will even change their names. My dad used to work with somebody whose name was Dusty Sheets. His name was Dustin Sheets, and he went by Dusty, so his name was Dusty Sheets. And if you don't think that's ridiculous, then I don't know what's wrong with you and your body. I don't know. Funny names, that's always amusing to me, is somebody with a funny name. It's like the joke on The Simpsons, the bots calling the Mo Tavern, and it's all is there somebody named IP Freely there? And they're like, hold on, let me check. IP Freely, and then he threatens to stab him, and then threatens to send him to the mortuary and get an urn and put him in the urn, and then cremate him after he tries to stuff him into the urn, but realizes that he won't fit because he's too big to fit in the urn without being cremated first. Cremation, that's a funny thing, right? I don't understand why anybody would want to be cremated. I think it's a little morbid, in my opinion. I mean, obviously not everybody thinks the same thing. Cremation, it's if you want to have your family members remain close to you at all times because you miss them very dearly, and you feel like they're very important in your life, and obviously they were your family members, and you can't I really wish I would have gotten a key. You can't be expected to go visit, you got Memorial Day off where you can go to the cemetery and visit your grandma's tombstone or something, or maybe your child was kidnapped and you never found the body, so you have to just remember them without having a burial site, even though you might have still procured one in the event that they ever do find his corpse. And then you heard not too long ago that they did find a corpse off the side of the overpass. It was a skeleton. It had been there for a very long time and it had decomposed. But then you found out that it was too big to be that of a 10-year-old boy, so there was no way it could have been your son. And you were really hopeful that it was, because you wanted final closure, knowing that I don't know. That's something, right? Is when you get, you're probably never going to see your family member again, but you just want to know that they're like, it's a weird thing. You want to know that they're not alive, just so that you can know that they didn't like abandon you for whatever reason. Because what might hurt more than just your family member abandoning you is your family member abandoning, or no, rather your family member dying or being kidnapped or whatever and then being murdered, is your family member abandoning you and then just never like calling you again or whatever, like not picking up the phone, let you know that you're not alone, stuff like that. It's something that I've always been super fascinated with, is just missing persons reports. I don't know why. I've got a morbid fascination with stuff like that. I used to look that stuff up all the time on various websites, like Wikipedia. Disappearances, like the Lynchburg baby is a famous example. The Beaumont children is another good example. But then there's stuff like, I don't know, when... No, thank you. When, like a mom, like somebody's mother was supposed to be at her child's 5th birthday party, and then she doesn't show up, and then nobody knows where she is, and her friends haven't heard from her in like a week or something like that. And everybody's just like, where could she possibly be? This isn't like her. Usually she's very punctual. She loves her children. They're the most important things in her life, and now she's just not showing up for her son's birthday no more. And it's like, well, you don't want to think to yourself that maybe she just ran away. She couldn't deal with the stress of having to raise these children for the rest of her life. I guess something like that. Maybe not that specifically, but something similar to that. But then they find her car in like in a parking lot, like of a grocery store that she doesn't usually go to, and it's within walking distance of one of her coworkers' house. And they find her wallet in the hardware store parking lot a couple of miles away, and it's like there's no reason why these two things should have ever been so far apart, considering her cell phone was still in the car that they found of hers, and so was her keys were in the ignition, so it's not like she just forgot to leave it there and whatever, and she just like ran off. Because if you're going to run away, you probably want to take your car with you at the very least. Maybe not, because like cars are pretty good tell. They've got VIN numbers that can be tracked for a very long amount of time. I'm sure if I was to look up my used car's VIN number, I'd find all sorts of crazy things on the internet about where my car used to go, who used to drive it, how many people used to drive it, where they used to drive it to and from, and whatever. My car has like 180,000 miles on it. That's a lot of miles. That's more miles than you could ever walk in your life, buddy. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe. Oh God, really? Maybe I'm being melodramatic. Maybe I'm just a melodram. You ever think about that? I think about that all the time. People tell me that I'm very melodramatic, but I don't believe them. I think they're just lying because they want me to feel bad about myself, and I'm going to have to like kill them and tell them to stop being so rude to my body. Oh my God, there's nothing in here for me. I wanted stuff. That's all I want is stuff. Why can't I just have stuff? I like stuff. People don't believe me when I say that I like stuff, but let me tell you what, stuff is great. All right, buddy. All right, baby girl. Show me what we got. Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. Okay. I won the last one. Probably not going to win this one. I'm doing very bad. Very bad. I'm a very bad man. And I deserve everything that's coming to me. I mean when I finally go to meet my maker, when I finally go to my final resting place, I deserve everything that comes to me after. Because I like to believe in some sort of afterlife. I don't know if it's like necessarily the sort of afterlife that you see on television. People. All right, that helps me a little bit. People going up to the pearly gates, meeting St. Peter. He's like, "Hey, what's up, buddy? You want some Goldschlager? I got some here left over from the party last week. You can have some if you want to. I wasn't going to drink it all, but you can have some of it if you want. I've got no problem with that." And then he's just like, "Well, yeah, I think I'll have some, but I'm more curious about my eternal resting place. I'd like to know, do I got a nice room with a view? Do I have to go to the room that has like a noisy ice machine right next door to it? which is fine because I'm still in heaven, so it's not like it's the worst thing in the world. I could just be in hell and have like a really nice condo, but it's still get pitchforks shoved up my ass every day, and that's not really something that I'm super interested in. It's not something that when I read the Bible, I'm like, I'd like to avoid this whole eternal damnation thing if I possibly could. But I understand if I was not a very good Christian man. I understand if I betrayed God's trust one too many times by like praying to Him on Sunday, doing like 10 Hail Marys and being like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to turn my life around, and then I don't because I'm a liar. I'm a pathological liar, which is why I'm so surprised that I wound up in heaven, is because I did lie all the time and I never liked to tell the truth, because the truth is just, it's not that I don't want people to know that I like more about me and my life. I just really like to lie. It's fun to me. It's fun. It's validating, especially when people believe you, especially when you lie about something so insignificant. It's like that game, Two Truths and a Lie, where people are all like, yeah, let me tell you 2 truths about myself and a lie, and then you have to guess which one is which. For example, I've been to Myrtle Beach. I used to be in a ska band, and I own several commemorative plates about Star Trek. Which one of those do you believe? I'll tell you which one it is. It's the Star Trek one is the lie, because I'm not a nerd. I don't like that nerd shit. I used to beat people up in high school because I was talking about Star Trek all the time, and I'm like, buddy, if you want people to like you, you have to stop talking about stuff like this that nobody else cares about. Nobody else gives a shit. And I'm just digging myself a hole here. I know people really like this. People really like the Star Trek, and I like Leonard Nimoy. I think he's a good guy, even though he died. William Shatner, he's a good guy, even though he died. Well, I'm dead. That's it for me, SparkleDart. So thank you for watching. Goodbye. Mwah.